YouTube, my name's Lance and welcome to Bundy Bears Shed. Well, what's been going on this week? It's been bloody warm, yeah. Yeah, look, we're in Australia, in Queensland and Western Queensland particularly, and New South Wales, we're having a bit of a heat wave happening, and it's not too bad here. It's 7 in the morning here and we're sitting on 32 degrees Celsius, so that's 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Yesterday it was about 34, 36, something like that, so that's not too bad. At 36, it's supposed to be 36 today, and I'll just whack that into my calculator. So at 36 today, that'll be 96.8 degrees Fahrenheit. But look, yesterday, out west of us, which is Kangaroo, which is around 2 hours, 2.5 hours west of us, where we have friends, and their official recorded temperature was 45.6 at 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon. So that's 113 degrees Fahrenheit. So look, it has been warm, and being warm, you sort of your energy levels drop a bit, and your beer drinking skills get refined. And it's good to be good at something, eh? So having a couple of beers, I'm pretty handy at that, yeah. And but anyway, yeah. Look, I did get a bit of stuff done yesterday in the shed here, in the shop. There's a gear on my lathe. It's a double gear on the lathe for changing your feed rates, and it's got 127 tooth one side and 120 the other. And a while ago it buggered up a bearing, and I thought, oh well, I went downtown and I bought a couple of bearings and put in, but where you had to push the bearings onto the shaft, it was tight as. And anyway, once you get them out with a buggered bearing, you've got to fit the new bearings to the tight as thing, because your lathe's not working to turn that piece down. So you have to commit to putting the whole thing back together once more. So anyway, putting it in, I was pressing it in with the press, and yeah, it just didn't feel right. And I thought, oh, you know, I had to continue, and but I think the force was so great that it marked the internal ball bearings a little bit, and I could just feel this little, yeah, it just didn't feel right. So I bought a couple of new bearings, sealed bearings. The old ones were shielded bearings, so I bought sealed ones. And well, yesterday in the morning I made a little adapter for it, and so I've got that filmed for the stew today. And with the adapter, my little Chinese mate, One Hung Low, that made the lathe, he obviously ballsed up that piece. Then on looking at it later, where the two bearings sit on the shaft, he had them so that when you did the nut up tight on the outside, you're actually forcing side thrust on the inner ball race. So it didn't matter what you did, the ball bearings were never going to last all that long, really, and they probably did well to last as well as they did. So look, I've filmed a little bit of that for us. Yeah, just a quick little job. That's the old piece there that my mate One Hung Low made. And what was happening was the bearing comes in, there's a circlip here and another bearing on the other side, but this here was shorter, and so when you did the nut up, because the bearings couldn't come closer because they had a circlip on the outside, when you did the nut up, it actually forced particularly this outer bearing in, and they're not made for side thrust. So what I've done, you'll see on the clip, I've made a little stepped washer for here, and so that we can actually tighten this nut up, and there's no side movement in the bearing, and there's no side load on the bearing is probably a better thing to say. So anyway, yeah, that'll we've got a little bit of footage of that. Like I say, it's 32 in the shed this morning at 7 o'clock, which is 90, so I'll have a bit of a fiddle this morning and do a little bit. But yesterday afternoon, oh well, I'd like to thank everyone that offered to help me vacuum the fridge, my little cooler. It's not an Esky, it's actually a 12 volt fridge, or runs on 12 volt or 240 volt. They're an Engel brand, and they're just a duck's nuts. They're a really good thing. But yeah, look, everyone that offered to help, look, thanks for that. But I got by. I vacuumed the fridge out myself, and that was a bit of an effort, but I stuck with it, and I got by. And anyway, I was looking at it all empty and lonely, so I went and bought another box of beer and put it in, yeah. And now I'm feeling far more comfortable about that. But yesterday afternoon in the heat, Judy, my missus, she had 1 or 2 beers, and that's a big session for her. And so yeah, she came up here and we had a beer, and just sat in the doorway. There was a beautiful breeze in the doorway, so we sat there. Well, I sat there most of the afternoon with the dogs and having a bit of a sip and fixing the world's problems and all that. Yeah. But anyway, look, it was a nice steady afternoon. But it's Monday morning now, so Judy's gone to work, and I decided I don't like working Mondays anymore, so I don't. And but being fair, Judy has Fridays off, so yeah, that all works out. So look, on this stew, there'll only be a little bit of this, making this adapter for the gear and things like that, and well, a little bearing adapter. And the nut they had, they just had a washer and a nut on there. Nothing special about the nut. You had to get up it a bit. So I actually found in my spare parts here metric stainless nylock nut for that job. So that means we can nip it up firm. You haven't got to over tighten it. You haven't got to worry about it rattling loose. So that's a good thing. So stay tuned. We'll run through the footage of making that little thing, and yeah, we'll see if there's anything else we get up to. Well, this is the gear. It's the intermediate gear in the feed train of my lathe, and there's my little Chinese lathe. It's a Hafco Metal Master, which is sold by Hare and Forbes in Australia, and it's an AL335, and this intermediate gear, you can turn it round one way or another for metric or imperial threads, and it just changes things like that. But it actually buggered up a bearing in here, so I went downtown and I bought some new bearings, and a pair of sealed bearings this time. They weren't sealed, they were shielded but not sealed before. And anyway, getting this little boss out that holds the bearings in, man, was it tight. And I actually had to press it out and press it back in, and I knew when I was pressing it in that it was too tight. I've fitted many bearings over the years, and this little boss here where it sits into the bearings, I had to press it in, and yeah, it was just way too tight. But I couldn't stop and turn down a new one of these because my lathe was in parts, in pieces. So what I'm going to do today is just machine one of these up. So I've taken the gear off. I'm going to measure this, work out what I need to do, what I need to make. I have new bearings that I can measure the ID of, and I'll make a new little spacer here, or a new little boss for the gear to go on. And I may even make it a little bit wider. I have room to go wider at the back here, and I'm going to make a new one, but instead of having to press it in, I feel I've damaged the bearings going in, and with that is notchy, and I believe it's notchy from the force I had to put on this to press it in, and so the new bearings aren't real good. So my little Chinese mate that made it, little one hung low, he kind of had his mind on the job that day, but in assembly they must have flogged shit out of it or something to get it on. There is bruise marks in here. I'm pretty sure I didn't make them, and yeah, just a bolt comes in, and you can adjust that on a slide back and forth. So I'll show you on the lathe where it goes, just so you got a bit of an idea. But yeah, look, this morning we'll just knock up that space and we'll fix this. What's happening is that with this little bearing being notchy, there's quite a bit of noise in the lathe that wasn't there before, and I believe it's getting noisier, so it's time to act. So anyway, follow along. This is where the gear goes on the lathe, and it's on a slide, so as you change gears you can adjust the backlash in the gears. Now most of these gears, you want probably 6 to 10 thousandths backlash, and this can either bolt that way that way to run these fellas, or it comes around the other way. And with these, they have an 120 tooth and 127 tooth. So what I need to do is measure this boss up and put this back on, then make one, and then pull it back off and put the new boss on. Well, here's a quick drawing on the whiteboard. They're metric bearings, so there's two bearings come on this piece here, one each side, and they're 10 millimeters thick each. So we have a little shoulder here of 20 millimeters. Being metric ball bearings, the ID of the bearings is 17 millimeters. There's a 13 millimeter shoulder with a 10 millimeter hole. So yeah, look, it's a great little simple turning job, nothing too difficult. But I'll put the gear back on the lathe now, and I'll chuck a bit of steel in, and we'll just knock one of them up. Well, there we go, we've got a little bit of stock in the lathe. We'll shorten him up a bit, no need to have miles of stick out. Bring him up. That's my little dial gauge. They're just a couple of little bits of 3/8 Rio flattened on the back. This is one of the best tools I've made. I use it just about every job. It just slides down. I've got a little cross line there, so I know it's in the centre. So there it is. And we'll see how far out we are. We'll run this fella to 0. Around 180. And we're a mile away. We're 75 south, so after that, 37. Bring this fella back to about there. 0 it. 180 once more. 4th hour. We'll take him to 2. Zero him again. Turn him 180. Very bloody close. Now this one, now we know where it is. We just take this one to 0. Nip him up. And there we are. A little bit of needle movement, very, very little. It's not a thou anyway. Lovely, tell your mum. Your mum mightn't really care. Anyway. Okay. I don't even need to do a centre with this one. We'll get set up and do a little bit. Well, we're sitting at about 640 revs. Do a run down here just to true him up. we know we're through there now. What I should have done was zeroed that out, but anyway, we'll zero it next time. Okay, we'll put a 10mm drill in here. We'll just do the hole first so any stress is taken out of the piece, and then we'll start. Right, we'll drill that hole. Right, that should be good enough for that bit. Bit of a gentle deburr. Now I'll just run down here again. I better have a quick measure of this fella. .5 is the old one. Got a 27.5 there. So look, for this one here, for the big outer OD, we'll probably just tidy this up on the front. Quick measure. We're sitting at 22mm. So to get down to 17 we need to give it a fire up a bit. We've got around 0.8 of a mil to go. So if we zero the DRO out, .3, so we take half of the 0.8. And look, we'll leave ourselves a little bit just in case. Measure that. 0.02 of a millimetre. So we might just do a spring pass. And that's a little bit warm at the moment. Oh, not too bad. Very close. I might just polish that a little bit. Fingers out the way. That's how we want it. And we'll just check our depth through here. So what that does is when the two bearings are on there, they sit up against this shoulder and the other bearing comes and the washer holds them in. So on the inner race here and the inner race on the other one, the washer holds them together on that inner race. So those races are quite small. So what we might do is just drop a chamfer on the back of this. Right, this is a little bit bigger than the other one, but that's fine. That's a benefit on the slide up and down there. A bit more surface area at the back is a good thing. So we'll drop a parting blade in. So we're just touching the edge, so I should be able to slide the ruler back now, across and not touch the tool. There, we're just there. Okay, so we know that because we want this piece here a certain length, the length from here to here will be okay. We've zeroed this point here with that front shoulder there. So we can zero that out on the zero. So we know we want 33 millimetres. So we bring this up now, 25, 26, 27, 28. is 33 mils. Well, this is the old one, that's a new one. This here, that is just tight. I just had to flog that to get it out again, but that's okay. This fella here, he sits in there, and then what the idea is, you decide which way you're going with this, and the way to do it without buggering the bearings up is put these two bearings in without the centerpiece, so that when you put them in, you're actually pressing on the outside here. So there's a bearing each side with a circlip in there. So you can just see the circlip in there, and with a bolt here that stops it moving back and forth. So, and the idea is when you'd like to change the gears, you haven't got to try and get this out and bash it and carry on to change the gears. You can slide this centerpiece out, put the boss on the other side, and away you go, without any major drama. So I'll get these fellas pressed in, and they're actually just a light pump fit, but you just got to make sure you're on the outside. And for instance, if we just put that there, then started pressing there, the pressure involved would probably just slightly mark the inside of the bearing, and that's not on. So I'll just go and pop these bearings in. Well, there we go, the bearings are in. They're in up against the circlip. So now, if we'd like to run the 127 tooth gear, we can put that in. See how that's slightly behind there? The idea is to put the nut and the washer up. The washer sits on that housing there and holds tight against the centre, so that another thing, you wouldn't want to over tighten that too much either. Well, look, I've been thinking about this, and I thought about making a washer in the side here, but then the trouble with the washer, I think, is when you pull this out to turn it around, because there's a circlip in there, there's nothing to hold that washer central. So I think my little mate one hung low when he made this thing. They didn't put much thought into that. So what I think the best idea would be to do is make an accurate washer. Now, make the washer so it comes onto this surface of the washer we have here, of the spacer, with a step, so it comes out to here. And so the idea behind that is that when we tighten this outside nut, we can nip it up tight without fear of putting any side thrust on the bearings at all. So the side thrust on this bearing would be 0, but it will have to be accurate, and yeah, so we can, when we tighten the nut up, the bottom of the washer bottoms out on here and here pretty simultaneously, just about the same size. So look, that's given me a chance to get me little jigger out here. And my old mate one hung low, he wouldn't have had one of these. Probably 66 there. And there we go, that's the little washer. So the little idea of the washer is that we can put him down there. We can do this nut up. I probably will get a nylock nut, we can do this up and do it up firmly. Disregard this old washer. We can do this one up firmly. We know the bearing is not stressed, there's no side movement on a straight ball bearing. They're not made for side thrust. So the idea now is, yeah, we can put this spacer from either side, put that little bloke in there. I've got that a fairly loose fit because the bearings aren't running on it, it's just to hold the bearing in place sideways. And yeah, pop the nut on and that's it. We can nip it right up so we haven't got fear of it moving. We can go from there. Alright, I'll go and put it on. There you go. Look at that, I even found a little stainless steel nylock nut for it. What a beauty. Okay, well we'll call that job finished. I need to grease this up here a little bit. And yeah, a bit of a tidy up down the bottom there by the looks, but that'll do. The lathe should be a lot just a little bit of turning for the week. I'll see what else I get up to. While it's nice and cool in the shed, we'll get into it and have a bit of a fiddle and a bit of a tidy up. So look, thanks for watching. Yeah, drop in every time you can, subscribe, leave a message, say good day, and we'll try and keep in touch. And yeah, look at everyone else's channels. I look at a lot of channels of a night. There's just shit on TV, so I often look at YouTube channels, but I have trouble commenting. Like when you go to comment on the TV channel, you've got to press A, then space, 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 B. And so, yeah, it'll take a month to get a sentence on, so I haven't been commenting on an awful lot, but I've been getting a like in there and a subscribe. So anyway, look, jump on, have a yarn, we don't mind a bit of a chat, and I'll catch up with you later, eh?